Welcome to the Bruins Benders post-game live presented by Inside the Rink. You can follow us on Facebook, X, and YouTube at Bruins Benders, and you can follow our content all season long. You're here today with producer Connor and Bender Smitty. Maddie is on the lam with us today, going out and enjoying himself a time on the Centennial Sunday.
Yeah.
But it is all right. We're here. It's a Centennial game. The Bruins win 6-3 over the Montreal Canadiens. 2 goals from Charlie Coyle, 2 goals from Charlie McAvoy. Everybody has a cherry on top to the holiday weekend.
Yeah, pretty nice game overall. I thought in the first period the Bruins came out pretty fast to start. McAvoy with the sweet wrap goal early on kind of set the tone, and then bang bang right after that Pastrnak scores, and then Coyle scores, I believe, to make it 3-0, and you have 3 goals in a minute 10, and you're off to the races. Best first period. Obviously, they played in a while. The puck was going in, so that was a refreshing change for the Bees, and it's a nice win overall for a team that needs it. They need to beat these kind of teams. They need to beat the Montreals of the world if they're going to improve and get into and keep playoff position.
Yeah, and I think you got the point right there. Montreal came in, playing the second half of a back-to-back. They played New York yesterday afternoon, coming into today. Of course, the one thing that I couldn't stop but think about for the hour to hour and a half before the game actually started was, are the Bruins going to come out and lay an absolute egg after watching this ceremony for the first hour?
I mean, that's what usually happens whenever there's any kind of big ceremony or anything that takes a little time to happen before puck drop. So hopefully the Bruins knew in advance, unlike most of the fans. I don't think a lot of the fans knew that the puck drop wasn't going to be until 4:15 until they kind of tuned into the broadcast and was like, what's happening right now? Where is the game? I feel like that stuff should have been taken care of ahead of time. It was an amazing ceremony. We should touch on that. It was great. They had guys come out from all the different eras and kind of then had some youth hockey players come out to be kind of like the next generation of hockey fans and hockey players in Boston. So I thought they did a really nice job with the ceremony. But I feel like they could have said, be in your seats at 2 or 1:30. Game starts at 3, and not lead on the fans with kind of a
late puck dropper.
Yeah, a late puck drop. Not what they were expecting.
I had a few people reach out to me via text and be like, "Delayed start?" ? Yeah. And I said, "LOL, yes."
Yeah.
It's not going to happen for like another hour.
Right.
But, one of the things that we were texting about during that ceremony and what I couldn't get over is there was one giant glaring missing player in this group, and that was Zdeno Chara.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really been present for, any of the ceremonies throughout the year, hasn't been close to the team much. Is this something where he's just drifted away from the team after signing that one-day contract to retire? Is he living over in Europe? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would have thought that he would have come back for something like this. But, maybe the way it ended for him here left a bad taste in his mouth. And, it hasn't been smoothed over by Sweeney and Neely. They kind of essentially let him walk, saying that they wanted him to have a reduced role, which he didn't want, and let him walk to go to another team. So I feel like there's maybe still a little bit of bad blood there, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen Chara. I thought he obviously would have gotten a huge ovation from the crowd and deservedly so. But yeah, it was interesting that he was missing, and if it is bad blood there between the organization or the front upper management and him. The Bruins front office needs to figure that shit out. They need to.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. They need to get on top of that, and because he's too much of an icon in Boston and with this town, and obviously a captain that raises the cup, in 2011. So they need to get that shit figured out and quickly, if there is any lingering resentment there between Chara and the team.
Yeah, and back to the game a little bit here. And speaking of defensemen, Charlie McAvoy has been kind of a glutton for punishment early, especially from us in the season. But he got off the schneid today, put 2 in the back of the net. One was a hell of a wraparound goal. Yeah. What did you see from McAvoy? What did you like from his game today that maybe has been different from past?
I thought tonight he was skating today. Here's his wrap goal. What if you're watching on YouTube, what a beauty. I could watch that over and over again. Nice play by Osterley to kind of give it to him as he's in motion. And usually he takes that puck and he goes more towards the corner, but I think he saw that the goalie was out of position and took it to the net, which I'd like to see him do more of, and shoot the puck more. He has a great shot. He was feeling it today though, after he got a second one, because he jumped up into the play and tried to, there was a pass that was kind of behind him and he tried to, like the Pastrnak, drag it through your legs and take it on the other side. And he almost pulled it off. So, he was feeling it tonight, and maybe that gives him some of his confidence back. And that's what we need from him. We need him to act like an alpha. And I thought today he did that. Go ahead.
He was definitely feeling it. And one of the things that I had texted you, and for everybody else out there, if you haven't seen it, go look at Nesson tweeted it out. He pulled the old Jake DeBrusk move when DeBrusk scored against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he grabbed onto the jersey and kissing it as he's leaning in the corner after Jake DeBrusk nets his first hat trick with the Canucks today. So I don't know, maybe he's feeling it, feeling good, throwing some shade at one of his old buddies who was just in town. Who knows?
Yeah, I liked all of it, and that's what we need from him. I think a little more emotion, a little more. He laid some big hits defensively too. I thought he was good in his own zone. Really, it's these type of games where you see and you're like, yes, that's the number one defenseman that we paid $9 and change for. Now do that consistently, and if he did, he would be in the Norris consideration. He would be one of the top 5-10 defensemen in the league. I think he slid down. We all kind of think he slid down a little bit, because his play has kind of drifted off the last couple of years. Maybe now with Sacco in there instead of Montgomery, maybe that frees him up to play a little bit of more of an all-around game, and he gets his confidence back, and things start trending in the right direction for him.
And speaking of confidence, there is another player who has been packing on the points, but has been absolutely struggling to put up the goals. And that's David Pastrnak. He gets off the schneid a little bit today, puts one in the back of the net. Can he keep it going?
Oh yeah, he can keep it going. Hopefully this is one of those things where he starts to, he goes on a little run here where he pots, 6-7 goals in 5 games or something like that, where he gets going. It was a nice play by him initially to kind of have the patience to try to find Zacha at the back door, and then the puck comes back out to Zacha behind the net, and Pastrnak kind of bumps back to give himself some more space to get the shot off, and just picks the top corner like only real goal scorers can do. And hopefully that gets him going, because this team is only really going to go as far as he can take them, because they don't have enough offense otherwise. So if he's struggling offensively, the team's going to struggle offensively. So if he can get going and really start to put some games together where he's scoring goals, that'll go a long way towards helping this team make the playoffs. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. After the Charlie McAvoy, the Charlie Coyle, the David Pastrnak, you've got Cole Koepke with a goal, Morgan Geekie with an assist, Mark Kastelik with 2 assists, Zacha, Beecher, Frederick, all with apples on the score sheet here. who kind of jumped out at you the most throughout the game that may or may not have been one of the goal scorers?
I thought Kaslik was good all night. He was involved both physically in scrums and also with a couple of assists. I thought Frederick tonight was pretty good. I think he had a shot or two. He was involved in some of the scrums, which I'd like to see more of that from him. Even McAvoy was involved in some scrums around the front of the net. So I thought just overall as a team, they had their legs today, which they don't always have, especially on games where there's a ceremony where they're kind of standing around for a bit. So it was nice to see them have that jump and then get one early and then kind of add on, which is they've struggled to do. They've scored first in I think 4 of the 5 or 5 of the 6 Sacco game. I don't know how many there's been since Sacco took over, but
he was 3-2 coming into this game, so this would be the 6th game.
Okay, so I think they've scored first in all the games since he's been the coach, minus the one where they got shut out. So they're getting off to fast starts. They just haven't been able to add on to put some of those games away. So that's good to see as well, and hopefully that can continue. They seem to have, for the most part, buttoned up defensively. And now it's just whether or not the offense will come. I thought Swayman tonight was fine.
That's the next thing I was about to bring up is some of the detractors.
You bring it up and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so quickly, some of the detractors, even though David Pastrnak did score the goal and get off the schneid, he was still a -1 in that department. Mason Lowry, -2 tonight, no points. That was a rough game for him. But Jeremy Swayman, something that has been kind of a roller coaster for him this season has been his performance. He had 26 saves tonight with 3 goals against for an .897 save percentage. Not terrible, but definitely not great. Definitely not worth that $8.25 million.
You're gonna hammer that all season long.
All season long.
Yeah, 8.25. I thought he was fine. He made some big stops in some big moments. No question. And I guess you could say the timely saves are what's important. It got a little shaky there in the third when, goes from 5-1 to 5-3. The shot leaks through him there. 5-hole, I think, by Caulfield. The first one, I don't know if you can really blame him. It was, puck to the net and hits a guy and goes in off of him. And then the other one was a one-timer that was an absolute missile. So, like I said, he probably wants the one back that kind of snuck through him by Caulfield to make it 5-3 or 5-2. Sorry. But overall, decent game. But you want him to be better than that for, like you said, for $8.25 million. He needs to come up with that save by Caulfield to kind of, because then that gives them a little life. It's 5-1, now it's 5-2, a little bit of life. Then they get the third one and it's 5-3, and now everybody's starting to sweat where they had the game kind of easily in hand. So some timely saves at some points, but then also one you probably want him to save and one he'd probably say he wanted to have back.
Yeah, of course. When you get to that 5-3 goal, everybody's asshole puckers. Sorry,
oh,
John.
Yeah.
And then it's chaos from there. Everybody's sweating it out. You're like, Oh my God, is this going to happen? We were doing great, but crisis averted. 6-3 win. Everybody can enjoy the rest of their Thanksgiving weekend. Your life's going to suck tomorrow when you go back to work. But let's get into some of the fan comments here. By the way, do you have a sip of the game before we hop in here?
I am drinking coffee that I spilled all over myself while I was watching the game. So I'm still finishing my coffee, but I don't have an actual booze drink.
No sip of the game. It's too early. It's not 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's 5 o'clock somewhere now, but no sip of the game for me today. So we'll have to go with T-Boz. His centennial sip is a Stag Junior Barrel Proof Batch 17. Last of the junior, 128.7 proof. Smooth notes of vanilla, brown sugar. What does that say? Palette?
Palette is hazelnut, leather, sweet oak, and signature chocolate cherry bomb.
Well, that is one hell of a sip, T-Boz. One hell of a sip. A little bit jealous of you there.
He is an absolute connoisseur of the booze.
He absolutely is. He absolutely is. T-Boz actually says, what a touching walk down memory lane. So great. Once a Bruin, always a Bruin, unless you're Milan Lucic. Yeah, I mean, they tried to bring Lucic back. It just didn't work out so well for him or the team.
Yeah, he really beat that chance up.
I see what you did there. Yeah, it was a beautiful tribute. Nice to see some of the guys back. For me, particularly good to see Wayne Cashman back. He hasn't been around the team much. I watched Cash in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, and he was, kind of a elder statesman on those teams, but, always a fan favorite. And then it was surprising to see Jason Allison. That was a cool little get, because I haven't seen him around the team all that much. And he had some really good years for them in the early 90s. So, good to see Jason Allison from my perspective. Here we go. T-Boss said, would have liked to have seen Corpy in this one. I agree with you. I think he's playing better of the two goalies right now, but I just think with this game and Korpisalo being new to the team, that there was no way that they were giving this game to anyone other than Swayman. I just feel like that was, fait accompli before it even was, that was probably decided in the off season, long before Korpisalo and Swayman were out here together, and Korpisalo's playing better. So I think that was decided a long time ago.
Do you think they just picked this singular game and said Swayman's going to start that game?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like long ago. Like I think that was decided. He's
the future of the franchise. He definitely needs to start that game.
Right. Yeah. I think so. I think that was decided, basically as soon as his contract was signed, he was like, Swayman starting the Centennial game. I just don't think they would give that to the backup.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with you though, T-Boz. Like, I feel like of the two goalies, he's playing better right now. And I had said it before, there was a game where they went to Swayman, and I can't remember what the outcome was of the particular game, but I think they lost, because I thought that Korpisalo should have had the net for a second straight game. And
that was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, you know what it was? It was Korpisalo got the first game of Sacco, and he should have got the second one.
And then they said they were going to go back to a tandem.
Right. So it's. He should be getting more time. I feel like he should be getting more games, especially while Swayman tries to sort out some of these little hiccups that he's having lately.
Yeah, and Adrian chimes in, out with the friends after our town's Christmas parade, and check the score. 3 goals. How out of character. Very nice. Yes, it is. The Bruins to actually take a lead, and surprise, Adrian, in case you didn't watch, they held on to the lead too.
Yeah, that was nice. It was nice to see them not give up any goals late in periods. They kind of closed out the period strong, which was a nice thing to see. A third period goal. Hallelujah. A couple third period goals. So they doubled their third period goal output at home tonight that they've had all year. The only problem is all 3 of their third period goals this season have come against Montreal. So they have not scored a third period goal against any other team in the entire National Hockey League.
Not looking good. No. But fortunately for Maddie, T-Boz isn't right here with the hoping those Turkey Day squirts didn't finally kick in for Maddie. We can confirm that Maddie was out having a ball this afternoon. He sent us a picture of his sip of the afternoon, but he didn't tell us what it was. So he'll have to pick that in next time. T-Boz also chimes in with amazing how Ferretti is stepping up with Bruins royalty in the house. It's probably because he went with no bucket in warm-ups, but
No bucket and warmies always adds a little bit to the legs. I feel like you always get a little jump when you go no bucket and warm ups.
He had no bucket. Pasta had the weird bucket. It was
Pasta went old school Cooper bucket. So you're like, he's scoring because he goes old school there. So it maybe too, having a little fun in warmies, no bucket. You go with the old school bucket, and maybe you're just a little more loose, little more having a little more fun around the rink these days.
Not choking the shit out of your stick every 5 seconds.
Not choking the shit out of your stick. And it seemed like that the body language and the mood of Montgomery did kind of infect the team. And I think they were all kind of in that like melancholy kind of like everything's kind of going shitty and like we're not doing very well. And I think everybody kind of felt that. And there's a new vibe over there now, and Sacco seems to have righted the defense for the most part. And now if they can start scoring some goals, maybe they'll be okay.
Yeah, and I mean, shit, you must know that Maddie's not here, and you're really reading the comments ahead of me because Liam chimes in, sort of talking about what you're mentioning here. Liam's been playing hockey for 25 years, and this team, the Boston Bruins, has a character problem. They play well for 20 minutes, sit back and hope things go well. It's great. They're up 4-1, but this is not sustainable. One of the things that I've noticed back from the Claude era, and I've chimed in to throw in some stats here and there, during the Claude Julien era, the Bruins took the body over the puck. Whenever a player had the puck, they took the body, and the second player in came and took the puck and skated away with it. And they absolutely dominated other teams in the third period. I don't know if it was just a,
coaching decision,
being in shape, better shape by the way they practice, or, coaching decisions, or what it was, but there is a glaring difference by how they play now versus how they play then. And this team is built the same exact way that 2009 through 2013 Bruins team was built. It's baffling.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're strong enough on the wall. I don't think they're strong enough on pucks. And I think that might go to coaching, because I think they think they want to play quick. They want to play fast. So they're trying to, instead of winning the puck and then gaining possession of it, they're just trying to grab it quick on the go. And they're not stopping on pucks. You've seen a lot more flybys than they ever used to do. So I feel like that's they're being coached to play quick. And I think with that, they're kind of getting away, or they had been getting away from some of the details along the boards where you need to win possession of the puck before you can play quickly with it. And I think Sacco has probably got them back to being a little bit more on pucks, staying on pucks, and winning battles. And everyone seems to be a little bit better winning battles along the wall. And, maybe it's just effort, but I think it's effort and coaching. I think it's a combination of the two.
Fair enough. And Maddie must be watching out there somewhere, because he just sent us a text. His sip of the game was an Irish coffee.
There you go.
That's what Maddie was having.
Maddie is out on the town enjoying life as a single man. So good for him. And
absolutely,
it is well deserved. So yeah.
Even a Bruins Bender podcast host gets a little PTO every now and again.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Now, Bruce chimes in after some thought. Maybe we are a little too hard on the new guys, Zadorov and Elias Lindholm. Can Cal system, Van system, 2 systems, Boston all in same year. Going to take them a while to stop thinking the game so much and just play hockey.
Yeah, so I think he's saying they were the Calgary system, then the Vancouver system, and then maybe a couple different systems in Boston between Montgomery and Sacco. So that is a lot of change for those guys within a 1-year period or a couple year period, and it might take them some time to stop thinking the game and just play faster. So yeah, we thought that early on that there would be some adjustments there and some struggles there. And there were clearly, Elias Lindholm, I feel like defensively, he was there from the beginning defensively. It's just now finding his offensive game. And Zadorov, I think, even to this point, is still having some trouble staying within the structure of their defense. But he's been better. He has been better the last, 5-10 games. So maybe it's coming. Hopefully it's coming because they paid him a lot of money to defend here, and he hasn't been great. So he needs to improve, and that will also go a long way towards this team, being a playoff team or being a more difficult out if they do make it into the playoffs.
Then let me ask you this. If you bring in these two players and they're pretty, high dollar players and things just aren't working out, do you tweak the team system at all to help match their play style a little versus just saying, well, you're not fitting the system and you're not getting it too fucking bad?
I would say no, just because to adjust a system that we'll say 15 to 18 other guys are already familiar with to help out two guys just isn't, I don't think that's productive. Just because you might throw off the 15 or 18 other guys if you're adjusting for the two guys that are new. So I think it's on those two guys to adjust to the Boston system. And look, I think Lindholm has done a pretty good job of it. He just needs to find his offense. He's been doing pretty well in the faceoffs. He's been, pretty strong defensively. Zadorov just floats a little bit too much for my liking. He gets outside of the structure, and he'll chase guys all the way up to the point in the defensive zone, which is out of structure. He's not a great passer out of his own zone. His passes are kind of soft D to D. And
I don't think he was ever that player. Like, I don't think Zadorov was ever marketed as, like a high skill, smart hockey IQ player.
Right.
He's the big body, the physical presence. He'll fight. He's going to put somebody through the boards every now and again. That type of player. The thing that I can't stand about the Elias Lindholm talk is this guy was known to be a defensive Selke style player, not necessarily be lighting up the scoreboards. And his average is somewhere between 40 and 60 points a year.
Right.
And even when people were really grilling him about a week or two ago, he was on point pace for about 40. Typical. But everybody's like, he's only going to score 40. That sucks. Yes, but that is exactly what they signed.
Yeah, that's my problem with it. I like the player overall. I just think they paid him way too much money. I think that's slowly becoming evident to everybody. It's not the players are bad, it's they overpaid. Right. Yeah. I mean, I would take Zadorov too at, $2.5 million, if you want to cut that number in half. And same with Lindholm. If you want to pay him $4 million instead of, almost $8 million, I'm fine with that. I have no problem with giving him, eat 4, even 5. Give him Charlie Coyle money. I'm fine with that. But to give him 7, and change, you're looking for him to be a number one guy, which he just isn't. Unless he's playing with elite players and, or 2 elite players in Gaudreau and Tkachuk. So that's just, the Bruins don't have that.
I feel like I bitched and moaned for the last 3 seasons about Charlie Coyle being overpaid at $5.25 million.
Yeah.
And they're about to get rid of him. And the third line center is about to be Elias Lindholm, who is slightly overpaid. And I'm going to complain about that for the next 3 years.
Well, yeah. And you should, and you should complain about that for the next 3 years because it is a vast overpay. And I don't know if the Bruins were bidding against anyone else. I feel like, and I have no, source to back this up or anything. I feel like they were bidding against themselves for both players. I think both guys, they didn't have markets outside of the Bruins, and the Bruins just paid them what they wanted to pay them. And I'm not sure why. I feel like they could have gotten both players for less than what they gave them.
There was some talk that Vancouver had offered Elias Lindholm the same contract that they were offering to Jake DeBrusk. And all the players in Vancouver said, hey, man, look, we love you here. You fit our system well. We want you to stay. You were great in the playoffs. And they flip-flopped. DeBrusk took the money there, and he said, screw you guys. I'm going to take the bag in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
See you later. And I feel like Don Sweeney looked at this player who was a great value, Patrice Bergeron, and they had interest in him before, back when Carolina traded him and Hannafin to Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And Don Sweeney got hot in the britches again, and here you go. He finally gets his guy.
Yeah, a few years too late and for too much money. So fantastic. Nice job.
Absolutely fantastic. Speaking of too much money, let's talk about $8.25 million. One quick time. Swayman gets the win. Yes. Another sub 900 save percentage. Yes. When it comes to the goaltending, do you think that eventually this year there will be a bit of a goaltending controversy if Korpisalo keeps up his solid play?
Yeah, there will be, because I've already I don't know if I've started it, but I'm on my way there.
You're stoking the flames.
Yeah, I'm on my way there. Like,
you're whittling the sticks together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to build a fire here, kids. I mean, Korpisalo's played better. He should be getting more games than he's getting right now. I know you want to have Swayman kind of work through it, and this maybe is his training camp, but again, that's his own fucking fault. Sorry, John, but it is. It's his own fault. And I think some guys on the team held it against him that he took it into the season. So, you know, you got to work your way back into shape, or, you know, game shape, whatever you want to call it, but not at the expense of wins and losses for the team now. Like, do it in practice. You and Goalie Bob get together and have a powwow and do all the drills and all that crap, but give the guy that's playing better the net right now.
Looking back on it, do you think that the players were giving him the shade in the reports of he was losing some of his teammates, and also Jim Montgomery just absolutely riding him early in the season was all related to Jim Montgomery and the players kind of saying, fuck you for the contract negotiations?
I don't know if that's the sole reason.
Because they've also played like complete trash in front of Swayman.
They have. They've played worse in front of him than Korpisalo. That's not debatable. I feel like, I don't know if that's 100% of the reason, but I think there's inkling of that. I think that's a little bit there. I think maybe it's in the back of their minds, like, hey, this guy kind of screwed us at the beginning of the season. So, you know, well, go ahead, Jeremy. You wanted the big money. You wanted the big contract. Like, go out there and prove it now. So they sent him out there. And I think part of it too was, you know, Sweeney and Neely, and, you know, because I think those guys do have a say in who gets the net to a certain degree and who plays and so forth. We're saying, look, we just signed a guy to a big contract, put him in the game. So I think, you know, there's a confluence of things there. I think there's a bunch of things that probably all work together to have Swayman start the season and them to kind of ride him, and then the players not to play great in front of him. So yeah, he kind of reaps what he sows here. I mean, we said it, you know, when you hold out and you miss training camp, you usually start slow or you get injured. And if you don't start the way that you should start, you know, the fans and people start to turn on you and start to get on you. And that's what's happened. So until he starts to play better, he's going to be hearing about this shit for the rest of the year. It's going to be there all year long. Even if he has back-to-back shutouts, if in the next game he has an 840 and gives up 5, he's going to hear it. It's just part of doing business, especially when you sign a big contract. That comes with it. That comes with the territory. You want to be, you know, the number one guy, the big guy. You have to answer. You have to answer when you don't play well. You have to answer when, you know, things don't go your way. And he'll hear about it all year long if you know, he has bad games. It's just the way that way that it is.
And T-Boz chimes in here about the jerseys today, the special centennial jerseys the Bruins were wearing. I saw some folks commenting on Twitter and some people even saying these should be the permanent new jerseys for the Boston Bruins. What do you think?
I'm in. I love these things. I mean, I don't love the yellow down the sleeve here part. I don't love that.
Mhm.
I think that should probably be black, and I don't love the gold stripe on the pants either. But other than that, love them. I really thought that they never should have got away from these kind of 80s look in the first place. So yeah, I'd be all in if they were the kind of new home jerseys all the time.
All right. Adrian chimes in. Another sip of the day. Her hubby tonight had a fall spiced old fashioned. This maple syrup plus infused bourbon brings warming fall spices to this spin on the classic cocktail.
Now we've got all these awesome descriptions and everything.
We're killing it.
I had a couple of maple old fashions last night. Maddie and I went out on the town, and I had a couple of maple old fashions. Maddie had some espresso martinis. We did a bourbon tasting too. That if it hasn't been uploaded, you'll be seeing that pretty soon on YouTube. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the bourbons, the maple bourbons, and old fashions in general.
Absolutely. Matthew chimes in here. Welcome, Matthew Curtis. 3
Welcome.
more winnable games this week. What does this team do over the next 3 games? And do they get absolutely ball washed by Winnipeg on the 10th?
There is a very good chance they get ball washed by Winnipeg on the 10th. They should. Detroit always plays them fairly tough. But it is winnable games, like Detroit at home, at Chicago on Wednesday.
On Saturday.
And the Flyers on Saturday. The Flyers will play them tough. The Flyers work hard, and if the Bruins aren't going to work hard in that game, the Flyers could beat them 100%. And the Flyers, I think, the Flyers have a better record than you right now, so that's not exactly a given. But it's a winnable game.
They definitely have the better coach of the bunch, in the Bruins Benders' opinion.
Yes, we do like us some torts around here, no question about it. But that Winnipeg game, especially if they start to string some wins together here, if they go 2-1 or 2-0-1, something like that, in the next 3, and then go out to Winnipeg. That'll be a decent measuring stick to see where they're at, because Winnipeg has been kind of the standard up to this point in the season. So it will be interesting to see how they do. Has their defensive game improved enough to keep a really potent Winnipeg team off the scoreboard, and then can they score goals against a Winnipeg team that plays fantastic defense and has an all-world goalie in Connor Hellebuck. So that will be a huge test for them, and it will be interesting to see, how they stack up in that game.
Definitely the toughest of the bunch. And what's up, Gus? He says, "Let's go Bruins. This game will be the turning point." Gus, let's pipe it down a little bit. I might be getting ahead of ourselves. They just lost to the shitty Pittsburgh Penguins like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Let's relax. Not ahead of ourselves.
But
this was the Habs on a back-to-back.
Yes. So a couple things. Habs on a back-to-back. Bruins put up 6 against the Habs in the first game of the year. So they've scored 12 goals against Montreal so far this season. They haven't been able to score like this against other teams. So can they do this against other teams that aren't at the bottom of the league? That's the issue. That's what needs to be figured out. Can they do this against good teams or even other bad teams? They haven't scored a third period goal at home against anybody not named Montreal Canadiens. So until they can prove that they can do that, we need to pump the brakes a little bit. But obviously a step in the right direction. They've been pretty good under Sacco. So they just need to continue to build, keep focusing on focusing on the details on defense and then being able to score offensively. So hopefully it is a building block and a turning point. I would love nothing more than for it to be a turning point and for this team to, reel off, 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah, and I think the Nicky Canuck here probably gives the best 1 to 2 sentence summary of the game. To Charlie stepped it up. Great ceremony, but remember it's against Montreal. Keep it rolling, baby.
Yes, 100%.
T-Boz chimes in here when we were talking about Zdeno Chara and not being in any of the ceremonies, that they treated him like shit last year, another Sweeney Neely gaff. I'm not really sure what they did last year to piss him off. Are you tracking what he's throwing down here?
Yeah, I just feel like I think maybe it had to do with how he left. When he, they kind of lowballed him on his contract offer and told him, it was going to be a reduced role. And I just don't think he liked the way that all went down. He thought he probably deserved more respect than the way they handled that at the end. And he went to another team and played pretty well for them. So I think that's probably what it all boils down to.
And I can't help but laugh. Beth chimes in here and says the PP is still a big issue. And I couldn't think but to myself, at least it's not a small issue, Beth.
Yeah.
It's not a small issue.
Oh, we're childish over here, but we love it. I mean, the power play is an issue, 100%. And it was interesting because they tried some new power play units in practice yesterday, and then decided not to go with them during the game today. So that was interesting. They had
that's a play out of the Jim Montgomery book right there. Yeah,
it's like trying to throw a misdirection thing or something like that. I don't know. But whatever it was, it didn't really work. And they have too many good players to not figure it out. I think you need to start with having someone else run the power play. And we talked about this before. It shouldn't be Chris Kelly. He's not a power play guy. Never really has been. So I don't understand why you have a guy that's, more of a penalty killing guy running the power play. I feel like
you pay Patrice Bergeron to be an off ice consultant and send a text to the power play group chat once a week.
I mean, I'll take up a collection. Well, we can put together a GoFundMe to get Patrice, $50 a week to send a couple of texts to the power play meetings, or send some video to the power play meetings. I think they have done some nice things since Sacco took over. They're looking more at the low play, trying to do that some more. I think their entries haven't been great, but they've been better. But they're still making some boneheaded, passing plays once they get it into the zone. So, until they kind of figure that out and stop trying to pass it through people, they're going to struggle. So I don't know if that's necessarily all on the coaching. I think some of it's on the coaching, but I feel like some of it's on the players and deferring. They had Ray Bourque on the broadcast tonight at the beginning of the second period, and he said he'd like to see Charlie McAvoy shoot the puck more. I think that would he shows tonight when he shoots the puck, he can be dangerous. So, Ray Bourque led the league in shots almost every year. When it got back to him, he was putting it on net. And I think if McAvoy has that mentality, then I think that starts to open up the wings. And then the one-timer for Pastrnak will be open more. The bumper will be open more because they'll have to suck out towards McAvoy to take the shot away. And then if you pass to the wing, then there's a better angle to pass to the bumper or to pass down low and then pass to the bumper. So I think it all starts with him having a shot mentality after they enter the zone. And that's been an issue as well. So, they have some things to figure out there, but like I said, there's too many good players for them not to be better than they are.
Yes, and David chiming in with the bless his heart, Terry O'Reilly looked like a fat guy that lost a Terry O'Reilly lookalike contest.
Okay. Every professional sports guy, unless you're a football player, that's already big and fat, every guy like puts on a ton of weight after they get out of the game because their conditioning was at such a high level that once they stop doing that and sit down for 5 minutes, they just balloon up, and those guys probably enjoy an adult beverage like the rest of us do. So, I think I'll chalk it up to that. I'll chalk it up to, he's a guy who's enjoying some adult beverages in his old age, and he's put in his time and
he's paid his dues.
Yeah, he's paid his dues. He deserves all those beers. He probably deserves us to buy him a beer too. So I'll cut him a little bit of slack, and because I certainly wouldn't want to be the one after Chris Nyland told us the story of Terry O'Reilly beating the bag out of him because he didn't know he was left-handed. I certainly wouldn't want to be the one to tell Terry O'Reilly he was fat. So I'm gonna stick with we'll buy him some beers and we'll leave it at that.
Now Jeremy chimes in. The passes looked better iffy in the third.
Yeah, I thought
passing has been kind of an issue.
Oh yeah.
Overall, passing into space, throwing it off the boards to absolutely nobody, which doesn't classify as a giveaway, but it fucking does in my book.
Oh, sure it does. Yeah, the passing's been an issue. We've talked about it before. I mean, they very rarely go tape to tape to tape to tape. It's just not. They just don't have enough guys who can do it. They don't have enough guys who can pass well. Passing is an art form. So is receiving a pass, which I think they have a bunch of guys on the team that have trouble with that. So it has looked better, but I am still concerned about it, especially when they face those teams that pressure, hard pressure on the D, because I don't know how well they can pass when they're not pressured, and then all of a sudden if they're if they have a lot of pressure on them, what do those passes look like? And it's the defense's turnover machines is what we've seen. So they do have some stuff to clean up there 100%. I'm not sure how much it's going to improve because I'm not sure they have the personnel that's great in those areas to be able to improve it that much.
Yeah, and that really goes into another comment that T-Boss threw in here. It really sucks that because of Sweeney's shit foresight, sorry, John, that we get the salary cap boost in the next couple of years. We won't, because it'll be an even wash with the Zadorov and the Lindholm contracts. Yes and a no. I have a way of looking at what Sweeney's doing. If you look at it from a perspective of your goaltenders and your defensemen are completely locked up and signed, you just have low ride to deal with moving forward. He has the next 2 seasons to 100% address the forward group, and we'll have another $20 million this season to go after it, if not more. There's a lot of discussion about what the cap could or couldn't be. We won't get into that today probably, but you could even get up to 30 million within the next 2 years to 40 million. That's a lot of money that you can spend on forwards to go and fix the forward group. It really is going to boil down to, do you bring Brad Marchand back?
They will bring Brad Marchand back unless they fall out of it and they have a conversation about him being traded. He will come back. He will be back. But I still feel like they'll have some money to address the forwards. Now, can they go out and get elite talent is the question. It doesn't seem like they've been able to lure the really elite talented players to come here. And now with them kind of, we'll call it in the middle, is an elite talent going to want to come and play in Boston? Or are they going to look to play for a team that's more of a contender? that has some cap space. So, you may have to overpay to get guys to come here. But
true.
There's no denying that the Bruins are short of elite talent, and they need to bring some of that in. Would I give, Mikko Rantanen $14 million a year, which is apparently what his asking price is? Sure, I would. The cap's going up. You need elite players. You need elite goal scoring. I would 100% give him that money because you need talent. And he would all of a sudden maybe create a better top six and knock some guys down the lineup back to more of where their spots should really be. Like, you wouldn't see Morgan Geekie on the first line if you had Mikko Rantanen. So
not a chicken dick's chance.
So there's
one.
Yeah, I mean, so there, it's a trickle down effect. You sign a guy like that, you bump guys further down where they've been more successful. So there is some opportunities there for them to sign some talent. Now it's just whether or not they can close the deal. In the past, they haven't really been able to. It's, you always hear, oh, they're in on John Tavares. Oh, they're in on Jerome McGinley. Oh, they're in on this guy or that guy. Tavares went to Toronto. McGinley, even though they thought they had a deal, went to Pittsburgh before he ended up coming to you. So, they haven't been able to close those deals to bring in those elite guys. They get the second tier guys or the third tier guys or the fourth tier guys or the, street free agents or the professional tryouts. They're not signing the elite talent that's out on the market. So we'll have to wait and see if they can pull that off. But I
think that's the conundrum that you bring up right there is they're not signing the elite talent and they're not able to draft the elite talent.
Right.
And they have no elite talent to trade to get elite talent.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. The only way this team could trade to bring in elite talent would be to trade elite talent. Like, you'd have to trade Pastrnak, who's your elite talent, to bring in elite talent. Or you'd have to trade Brad Marchand, who maybe isn't elite talent anymore, but he's excellent talent, we'll call it. Or Charlie McAvoy is excellent talent. If you trade him, you could bring in an elite or excellent talent, but you got to trade your really good players to get really good players back. You're not going to trade Trent Frederick and get back Connor McDavid. It's just not happening. So, they're kind of stuck there. So it's going to have to happen through free agency, or they're going to have to go be shitty for a while. Sorry, John, and draft at the top of the draft and get players that way. Or they're going to have to get lucky and hit on a random draft pick. Matt Poitras is going to have to turn into a second line center that's really good. Or, some of these guys they have in college now are going to have breakout seasons and then, play above their heads like Brad Marchand did. You drafted him in the second round or third round, and he was originally supposed to be a fourth line checking guy, a pest. But he improved and then was one of the best left wings in the league. You're going to have to hit on a guy like that, where you get kind of lucky. So they're not in a good spot as far as kind of retooling the roster. They just aren't. They're going to have to
when you go and draft guys like Zach Senyshyn, who's fucking burnt toast.
Yeah. They're going to have to get lucky. They're going to have to, do some get lucky. They're going to have to get lucky is what it comes down to as far as the drafting part, or they're going to have to be able to lure in one of these big name free agents. So we'll see if they can do that. I hope they can.
That is what we will be waiting on. Until then, you will be waiting on us for next time. Maybe Maddie will be back. Maybe he won't. But for today, that is it from me and Smitty. And again, as always, go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.